Building your business was hard, and you only sell it once. With a focus on marketing, communications, digital, and service businesses, the TobinLeff M&A advisory team is dedicated to helping owners maximize and monetize their life's work. Welcome to the TobinLeff M&A podcast.
Today, we would love to cover the topic of selling to private equity. We have many times, I know we all know, had clients come in the door who say, I am not selling to private equity. It's awful, I'm not going to do it. And that hasn't necessarily been our experience with our clients' own experience. So I would love to turn it over to my colleagues now to talk about some of the pros and cons, the benefits, the trials, the travails of selling to private equity. So Chuck, I'm going to begin with you.
Yeah, so I think the first thing to compare to it is going to the beach. And some people go to the beach and get bit by a shark. The vast majority of the people that go to the beach have a good time. Sometimes it rains on the beach, it's cloudy, but not many people get bit by a shark. But that's all you ever hear about in the news. And I think the sound bites that you hear at cocktail parties are by the occasional shark bite, and they're not very frequent. So I think that there's a reason why people continue to sell to PE. And if everybody was bit by a shark, they'd stop selling.
Yeah. And the deals that I've been on, the private equity firms have been pretty great. You know, they've increased profitability, they've helped shore up talent, they've provided opportunities to the owner and founder that they might not have had to either be part of a platform or a CEO of a bigger organization. I personally have not seen it, but like Mary, I hear that all the time.
And there's the opportunity for what we call the second bite of the apple, which can sometimes be as lucrative as the first bite of the apple. You and I saw that recently with a transaction, and the second bite of the apple, the rollover equity was actually increased during the discussions and the due diligence because of what the seller was bringing to the table.
So we didn't cover an important topic, was why people sell to a PE. And one of the reasons why is they pay more. And how do they pay more? Well, in my opinion, they pay more because they're going to run the business with a certain level of professionalism and really elevate the management's integration into the business. And that comes with some pain points. Yeah, you're going to get more money, but you're going to attend more meetings. And you're going to attend more meetings where questions and hard questions are asked because they want to push you and they want to maximize their value. We talk about we want to help you maximize your value. They also want to maximize their value. And that's hard work. It's not easy, but many of the firms are very good at it. And that's why they're successful.
If you go back to, you were talking about shark bites, and it's the perception that PE groups are going to be so bottom line focused, they're going to make cuts. Our experience has been the groups that are interested in professional service firms, they so value the talent. They don't know how to run ad tech, martech, marcom agencies. They need the talent. Right. They typically put in place incentive plans for the leadership team through equity participation. We've been speaking a lot over the last few weeks about M&A is about the people. In the same way, we encourage our clients to get to know prospective financial sponsors, private equity groups, and family offices. Do your due diligence on them, not just financial, but get to know them as people.
Yeah, I hear more stories where I may be on with one of our sellers, but we're on with a PE group. But they also have the CEOs of the firms they've already acquired. Mm-hmm. And they've been there for 3, 4, 5 years, and it's working really well. And, we have another seller right now who is excited about PE because he wants to be able to go out and make additional acquisitions to bolt on to his firm. And that's exciting to him. So he gets to move on to a higher level, transition the operational piece to his team, and work in a new capacity. That's sort of his next chapter, which is exciting for him. You don't often have that opportunity outside of PE.
Yeah, and in the service space, David, you'd mentioned cutting costs. They're not here to cut costs. They're here to grow revenue. Their focus is all on top line growth. That's what they're going to push you on. And the analytics that I talked about, it's all going to be focused on how you can grab more market share, increase the number of clients you have. It's not about eliminating the pencils.
The advantage, and our clients appreciate this, if you look at the typical deal structure, compare strategic with a financial sponsor, PE group or family office. Strategics many times will include earnout provisions. Sellers hate earnouts. I mean, it's usually cash at close and earnout on the strategic side. With private equity groups, in most situations, it's cash at closing. There may be a small percentage on an earnout, but then rollover equity. So you're not dealing with post-closing two separate scorecards. Everyone's rowing together. If the deal's structured properly, the seller's equities on the same level, the same terms as the capital providers, and they're working as a team, not focused on an earnout schedule.
Yeah, the seller gets cash off, gets cash in hand at close. I mean, which is important. It's part of it, part of the picture for sure.
Yeah, we had a client, David, as you recall, and she was thinking about selling, and she was adamant at first that she didn't want to sell to a PE group. And one of the things that she really appreciated and she learned quickly was that the PE group was going to bring a lot of smart people in the room. And she was grateful to work with those people that pushed her more professionally and helped her develop. So there are positives. I mean, yeah, you're going to have these meetings that I talk about. You're going to have quarterly board meetings, maybe even more frequently than that, and you're going to have to prepare for those meetings. You're going to have to present. A lot of our clients aren't used to presenting because they're the owner, and they don't have to present to anybody except for themselves in the mirror in the morning. And so that is a change in dynamic that can be tough. But it comes with positives, too. And I can tell you that client we sold to, after a few months, called us, and she was so excited about working with other smart people.
Many of our viewers and listeners are in the marketing communication space. We work with Marcom, tech companies, professional services, but the clients in the Marcom, there's been a huge inflow of private equity groups, family offices getting into this space. When we started this firm 15 years ago, very few Marcom agencies, unless their EBITDA was north of $5 million, would be considered with private equity. Now, there's such an influx that even earnings $2 million, $3 million could be considered as with a platform. And so we put out a white paper a few years ago, which is who are the buyers for agencies valued between $15 million and $50 million. And what inspired us to write that was, if you look at that segment, there's not a lot of strategics that would readily invest $25, $30 million because they've already satisfied many of those needs within their enterprise. But the PE group, that's their sweet spot with most of them. So, when I look at, I'm going to say 8 of our last 12 transactions have either been to a PE or a strategic backed by a PE group. And it's been a windfall for our clients and for us because of the influx. That's why we're just encouraging clients to do your homework, research, get to know these buyers.
Well, you just made a comment. I want to make sure we draw that out. And that was strategics backed by PE, which means that's a strategic that's having a good experience with a PE owner.
Right, and then our clients were the add-ons.
Right, so some of our clients may be the add-on to that. So that's one reason that we wouldn't want to shy away from PE.
Yeah, well, and also strategics, not always do they have the experience in doing acquisitions or M&A activity, where a private equity, this is their job. They're buttoned up. They know exactly what the next step is, and they're on it. Whereas there's a lot more guidance and education, not always, with a strategic buyer. So they're just savvier, maybe?
You know, it's interesting. We haven't really talked a lot about buy-side. We do a little bit of buy-side work. We have a buy-side client now that's owned by PE. The owner has indicated to me that I've always been the minority shareholder. I've always worked inside of PE. So it's been a really great experience. Now they're going out and they're looking for those acquisitions to expand their capability. And who's at the table with them helping fund it? It's the PE group who's also supportive of that growth plan.
We've been talking about the positives. We do have to, from our experience, you have to be careful when somebody calls themselves a PE group. If you go back to the traditional, when PE got started, they raised a fund and they had committed capital and they had to deploy that. And there's still certainly a good percentage of groups that have committed capital. There's a lot of investment groups, they don't have committed capital. They have relationships with funders, both debt and equity. And it's our job with our client support, we really vet them out. This is where we go back to reverse due diligence. Because any transaction, it's not just the economics that you assess, it's the likelihood that the deal will close and that buyer can fund the transaction. So a lot of work has to go into appreciating their experience and having the confidence that they can support it.
Yeah. Can you speak to some of the questions that we might ask of prospective private equity purchasers to ensure that they are qualified, to make sure that this is a deal that they have the capacity to close and to get this deal over the finish line?
Yeah, we typically, with interested parties, we'll go pretty deep. I mean, certainly learning about their past experiences with transactions, speaking with other operators that they sold to. If needed, if they don't have committed capital, we want to see letters and references from lenders. We may need to see support letters from some of their limited partners that they're interested in funding. So as much as we can get confidence around their ability to fund the transaction is so important. And as mentioned, just really looking at their success stories. In most situations, financial sponsors, PE groups, they want to have an exit in 5 to 7 years. Have they been successful with that? What's their vision for our client company? So, and it's interesting that when our clients have those initial meetings with prospective buyers, it's natural. They're nervous. They think they have to do their pony show to present and impress these groups. It's a two-way street. We so encourage our clients to qualify them as much as they are qualifying our client companies.
Yeah, so we've talked a lot about the possibility of a second bite at the apple, about the structure including rollover equity. Can you explain for our listeners who might not be that familiar a little bit more about the typical deal structures in selling to private equity and what rollover equity is and what kind of the goal is in setting up for the PE fund? David made reference to the 5 to 7 year time frames, just generally.
Yeah, so it's very common in a deal structure. Let's just say you sell your company for $1 million. It doesn't matter the number. That some percentage of that is going to go into the company that's acquiring you. And just to keep it simple, we'll say it's $1 million and 20% or $200,000 is going into rollover equity. So now you own equity in this company equal to $200,000. And the first thing I'll tell you about that is that make sure that your $200,000 is worth $200,000. We see this all the time where people will value companies without an arm's length transaction and they'll get an appraiser involved. And that appraiser will value the company. And there's a whole line on this, but the short answer is, sell it to the appraiser, because that doesn't represent economic reality. And we see that. So this rollover equity is going to grow. And it's going to grow a multiple. It's going to take time, but the plan is 3 to 5 times that amount. So the $200,000 in my example should grow to between $600,000 and $1 million. This goes back to what Roy was saying earlier about the second bite of the apple can be as big as the first bite of the apple. So if you have $200,000, it turns into $1 million, and you started off the whole deal is worth $1 million. You're only at $1.8 million because you put the 200, but it almost doubles the deal value. But you really need to make sure that your 200 is worth 200, because if you don't pay attention, and remember, private equity's in business to make money, and they wouldn't mind giving it to you at a slightly lower price, and it's a higher price, which gives you lower value, and maybe you only walk away with 100 of real equity because of the way they structured it, and then that 100 can only grow to 300 to 500 versus that 200 growing to 600 or $1 million. This is one of the reasons why you need to have the right partner.
Want to close this out?
Sure, absolutely. So thank you all so much for being here with us today. You can reach out to any one of us at www.TobinLeff.com. Thanks very much for being here with us today.
Thanks for listening to the TobinLeff M&A podcast, produced by Main Impact with music by Holt Vaughn. For additional resources, case studies, or to contact a partner today, visit TobinLeff.com and be sure to subscribe or sign up for our emails to never miss an episode.